Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. So we have reached hadith number 25. According to some, it's 27. It mentions عن عائشة رضي عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يغسل المني ثم يخرج إلى الصلاة في ذلك الثوب وأنا أنظر إلى أثر الغسل فيه متفق عليه. ولمسلم لقد كنت أفركه من ثوب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فركا فيصلي فيه. وفي لفظ له لقد كنت أحكه يابسا بظفري من ثوبه. So he mentions in this hadith that the Prophet used to wash the semen from his garment, then go out for prayer in that very same garment. And I can still see the trace of the washing on it. In Muslim, and that's what agreed upon in Muslim, it mentioned I used to scrape the semen off the garment with of Allah's Messenger, and then he offered the prayer wearing it. In another narration mentioned, I used to scrape the semen off his garment with my fingernail while it was dry. So this hadith discusses al-mani, which is semen. Now, هذا يخرج من الرجل ماء أبيض ثخين يتدفق في خروجه دفقة بعد دفقة. It mentions that this is the white fluid that comes out of the man at the time of ejaculation, and it repeats that process. ويخرج بالشهوة. It only comes out with desires. And after this, it comes with a person is tired after that. لأن الشهوة تسكن بخروجه والمني هو أحد أربع أشياء تخرج من قبل الإنسان. Now, semen is one of four things that comes out of a person. One out of four things that comes out of a person. Now, in understanding this, different rules apply for each of these matters. And the main thing is because it's talking about bab and najasa, that which is impure or pure or not. So here it says, كَانَ يَغْسِلُ. Now, and it mentions here, kana yaghsilu, so that it's something that used to happen frequently. وَلَمْ تَكُمْ قَلِيلًا عَلَى خِلَافِ ذَلك, and nothing shows other than that. Also, of the thing that's mentioned, the four things that come out of a person, al-mani, the first, which is semen that comes as ejaculation with desires. And it's followed with a person feeling somewhat tired and the likes. The second is al-madi. Al-madi is al-mani is thick and white. You have to understand the characteristics to know the difference between them as well. It's thick and white. As for madi, it's fluid that is light. It's not thick. It's light. It comes out at the time of desires or thinking about desires, thinking about intimacy and the likes. This breaks a person's wudu and they have to wash their private part. As for many, this only comes out at the time of ejaculation, so it will require ghusl. A person will have to make ghusl. This will lead you to a major impurity of janaba. As for madhi, then a person is only required to wash the private area, and the actual madhi itself. The difference is it's lighter in the fact it's a fluid that is lighter. It's not as thick, and it only comes out at the time of desires, by way of thinking of desires or touching, but not in that way of intercourse, or thinking about intercourse. Then a person may be affected by this. They would have to wash their private area and make wudu. As for what is called al-wadi bi fath al-waw, al-wadi, then this is another thick white fluid that is also it's not clear white. So as for semen that comes out of ejaculation, that's white, pure white. As for wadi, then it's cloudy. It's more of a cloudy fluid.
Which one's cloudy, sorry?
Al-Wadi is more cloudy. And this usually comes out after a person's urinated. It follows a person relieving himself. And it happens more in the winter than the summer. And this is najis, you have to wash it. Obviously, it usually happens immediately after you relieve yourself anyway. It will still be thick, but it's more cloudy. As for semen that comes with ejaculation, and that is thick, pure white. It's not cloudy like that. Then you have al-bawl, urine, which is known, again, you'd have to wash yourself after relieving yourself. Now, al-mani, which is semen, al-madhi, which is, what's the word for it? Like pre-semen basically, and wadi, which is just a white fluid that comes out that's cloudy. It's white but cloudy and still thick, but usually comes after urine. And then you have al-bawl, which is urine. What we learn from this though, the last three, they're all impure. As for semen itself is not najis. Or the najasa is, if it was najis, it's khafif jiddan. No, لا يجب الغسل. يعني if you only wash it if it's wet. But if it's dry, you can just scratch it off. And that's it.
Not necessarily, because sorry, you said you mentioned the bowl. Sorry.
Yes.
You mentioned urine.
So you have madhi, wadi, wal bawl. And before that you have al-mani.
لا البول أكرمك الله. If it is dry, no need wash.
No, you wash. You have to wash it.
أنت الحين okay لا.
But you scrape it first.
With urine you have to wash it. Yeah.
الأول طاهر يوجب الغسل. الاثنين الآخرين
لا يوجب الغسل يعني يوجب الغسل يعني من الجنابة.
أفهم.
نعم. So semen is not najis, it's pure. As for the others that we mentioned, then they are all najis. Okay. Now, and it's just okay. You wash it with water if it's wet, and if it's dry, you just scratch it off, and that's sufficient. As for everything else, la bud min ghusl, you have to wash it. So madhi, which comes, a person might just have a thought, an idea. You have to check, even if you had wudu, check if there's anything's come out of you. You have to wash your private area and then make wudu, because that will nullify your wudu, and also wash the area that it has affected. Wadi, that follows urine anyway. So you would wash yourself anyway at that time. And bowl, urine is known, you have to wash yourself. Al-istinja, هذا معلوم. So he mentioned قوله, when he mentions that Aisha anha, she mentioned كنت أفركه من ثوب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فركا. So that means I used to scratch it off. And another narration أحكه نعم يابسا. So that's of the things that is mentioned.
حديث صحيح.
نعم متفق عليه.
ما يدخل عقلي السيدة عائشة تقول هذا الكلام.
ليش؟
هو رجال نظيف يوسخ ثيابه، يعني استغفر الله العظيم، النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اتيكيت وذوق، شلون يوسخ ثيابه بهالشيء والصحابة يشوفون الوساخة ويحكون له؟
يعني لا تقدم العقل. لا هذا عادي جدا. لا عادي لا اترك الكلام لا يتعلق لا يليق بهذا. هذا كلام باطل. هذا يعني كيف نعلم أنه يعني لا ما في استحياء في العلم. There's no shyness in knowledge. لا شوف يعني هذا ليس وسخ. ليس وسخ. كيف وسخ إذا كانت طاهر؟
يعني وهي ما
ليس وسخا، هو طاهرا. يعني خلي هذا الكلام، يعني لا تدخل في هذا أبدا. يعني هذا ليس، لا ينبغي في المجالس العلم أبدا. يعني هذا حديث. يعني عائشة يعني هي أقرب من يكون للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، فكيف لا تروي مثل هذا الحديث؟
سامحني أنا لأن اللي في قلبي على لساني.
لا ولكن لا، يعني بس يعني أمسك نفسك، يعني لا تخرج هذا. يعني كما قلت, as I said, there's no shyness in knowledge. So some things you're only going to know by way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Aisha and her being the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course she would narrate things that other people are not going to narrate, because she's the only one who would know it. So you'll find more intimate situations of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to be narrated by the wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. هذا ليس عيب. Or when we speak about, for example, the times when women came to seek advice from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he got Aisha to answer or to help because out of shyness, because there's something that is specific to a woman. So he would tell them what to do, but as for demonstration in detail, he couldn't do that. But like, there's no shyness in knowledge. Now, for example, the hadith that talks about when a woman finishes her menses, she should purify herself with musk. And this is the Sahabi was asking how. The Prophet became distressed about the situation because he's like, I can't show you. Then Aisha had demonstrated and showed her that you take a cloth, you perfume it with musk, and you use it as known. But the fact she was asking how, the Prophet couldn't demonstrate how. He said it, what's supposed to be done. But again, there's no shyness. He still said what had to be done. No. And also, the one thing that we have to dismiss, what we have as customs or ideas based on Western societies we live in, doesn't apply to Islam. Does not apply to Islam if we have that which contradicts it. If it contradicts that which is in the Sharia. So, for example, someone will look down upon or think, oh, this is disgusting, it's seeming, throw away the clothes or something, throw the whole thing in the washing machine. La, it's pure. So you just wash that area. You see? Because, for example, a person, let's say they're doing itikaf in the masjid and they have a wet dream. What do now? They only have one garment, for example. Just wash that garment where it got affected and that's it. Others, yani, adi. It's not an issue. You see, it happens to people. So what would they do in those situations? هذا يدل على يعني تيسير الدين, that the religion is easy. So, and also it's not based upon what I think. A person might think, hold on, if I release myself, whether it's in intercourse or from a wet dream, wouldn't that must be impure? Like, it's not based upon your aql. You are in a state of impurity, yes, that you're in a state of janaba, you have to make ghusl now. But as for al-libas that were affected, you just wash that. That's it. Wash the area that was affected. Wala za'id ala dhalik. Or if it's dry, if it dried, for example, you just scratch it off. خلاص.
أستاذ, if حشاك الاحتلام يوجب الغسل؟
نعم.
يوجب الغسل.
نعم.
أنا اللي الحين فهمت منك غير. إذا الإنسان إذا كان محتلم يصبح يغتسل سواء كان
أي سبب يخرج المني.
نعم يغتسل.
نعم. Okay, because one thing that we have to understand, the difference, mani is different from anything else because it comes with ejaculation. It's not just like madi comes, you don't even feel it sometimes. You won't feel it at all. You might just feel cold or wet. So you have to check it. You see, some people, they're affected with waswas as well. Some people, they have heightened desires. It's all the time. So what do, for example? They have to wash and make wudu for every salah. Wash the private part and make wudu and then pray. Even if it comes out again after, it doesn't matter. You still pray. It doesn't invalidate your salah. That's for someone who is a constant situation. That affects people, especially in certain hot countries. They are affected most with these kind of things. So again, you have to understand it from a place of knowledge. I get questions like this. People asking, what do I do? Some people tell me they pray Isha, pray Salah more than a couple times because of it. But once they understand now, فتح باب التيسير, everything becomes easy for them. The religion becomes easy. It's no longer complicated. That's what it is.
وضوء after دخول الوقت.
نعم لازم أن يدخل الوقت. The time has to have entered of the salah.
نفس
سلسلة البول. نعم.
أكرمك الله.
So with al-madi, that can come with or without the thought.
Madhi usually comes with the thought. So madhi comes with either the feeling or the thought. Or yani foreplay. So without intercourse. Many is specifically ejaculation. But it's understanding, okay, that now, it happens, what do you do? If it goes on your clothes, for example. Now, you just wash the area and that's it. If it got dry, you don't have to wash it, you can scratch it off. And you can go and pray. That's the main concern that we have. What is the ruling? Kayfa at-ta'amal. What do I do? What's the ruling of that thing? Is it najis? Is it impure? Is it not impure? No. Some say it's impure. Qiyasan. As a means of qiyas, what they mention, ما هو أصوب, or more correct, الصح الأقوال, أنه طاهر. أنه طاهر.
في آية قرآنية تثبت أنه طاهر أعتقد.
لا أتذكر.
Sorry, Ibrahim. You see what you just discussed. Is that the lighter fluid?
Medi, yes, that's the lighter one. That's the one that just comes by way of thought, foreplay, remembering, any of this. Or just feeling aroused any way like this, that will come out of you. So you have to check if that's come out and wash it, wash your private part, make wudu. That nullifies your wudu. As for many, that doesn't nullify your wudu, that makes you have to make ghusl. هذا يعني يجب الغسل. Okay. As for wadi, this comes after urinating. It follows the urine. Most times in the what? Winter. And it occurs more in the winter than the summer.
And urine in Arabic is al-bawl.
Bowl. And the main focus is what? Al-mani. Why? Because everything else is najis. It's known. You have to wash it. As for this one, al-mani, do you have to wash it? If it's wet, you wash it. Only the area. You don't have to wash the whole garment. Okay. Also, if it's dry, you don't have to wash it. You don't have to put water on it. No, you can just scratch it off. And that's it. As is evident of the example of the Prophet Muhammad that Aisha mentioned, I can see the trace. She would know where it is. Obviously, someone else is not going to know what it is. Only she's going to know, because someone else might see, okay, you just washed that place, but they don't know why you washed it. Could be any reason. Aisha, she knows why that area was washed, or the fact she scratched it off, because she had that intimate relationship with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one's going to go outside and say, yeah, I had semen on my fob here, that's why I washed it, that's why it's wet. No one's going to say that. Unless someone doesn't have no honor and no dignity for themselves, they'll say, I had something on my fob, I washed it. But in general, no one's going to ask. No one's going to really ask, except for people that just love to know too much. You see, long-nosed people, they're the ones who are going to ask everything that they see. But al-husn Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'nihi. The best of a person's Islam, leave off that which does not concern them. But the main thing is, if I had semen on my thobe and I either washed it or I scratched it off, can I pray in that thobe? Yes. You can pray in that garment. We have to also remember some people are poor, and many of the Sahaba were poor, so they didn't have a selection of clothes as we have today. That's why Allah musta'an, we got so much jalabib and thiyab. Alhamdulillah. It's good the Muslim has style and embraces their Islamic identity and beautifies himself in a way that is permissible. There's nothing wrong with that. Alhamdulillah. But we're talking about, there's times people only had one thobe. So if this happened to them, they had a wet dream or something, what are they going to do? They didn't have no other option. We'll just wash the area. That's it. Khalas. Alhamdulillah. Sahal. No problem. The fact that the person washed it when it was moist and scratched it when it was dry is what is evident that it's what? Pure. Because had it been najis, even if it was dry, it would have to be washed. It would have to be washed. Now,
But you see, when it comes to the menstruating blood, if it dries out and the water runs clear now, it's pure. So it doesn't.
we're going to speak about that. Did we not speak about, did we speak about that already?
We did, but I'm saying if the sperm is pure in this case, and when it dries, you can just.
With the menstruating blood, did that hadith proceed yet? Have we mentioned that hadith already? No, it's going to come.
Oh, okay, we covered it last time, but.
Yeah, so basically, if, for example, on her garment, menstruating blood affected her garment, she washes it, now, to where it's been washed. Even if there's traces of the colour, it doesn't, that's no problem. That's fine. You've washed it, it's fine. Now, the trace of colour doesn't mean anything. Because even, for example, if I had a nosebleed and I had a white t-shirt, even if I wash it, I wash it with water, the blood is still going to be there. The traces that were still going to be there. You see, but the actual substance is being cleaned. That's just the colour that remains. That's fine. Is that the question?
Yeah, I was just trying to make the comparison between the both being pure. I just thought.
Oh no, but it's not pure. The thing is, semen's pure, and that's by evidence. As for menstrual blood, that's impure.
But is it
Blood itself, the blood itself is impure.
So the blood is najis,
No.
and then the semen isn't. So can
This-
you pray with it by accident, and the salah would not?
Yeah, the saw would be valid.
أستاذ أنا ما فهمت مضبوط أكرمك الله.
يعني-
الدم إذا تغسل وانفرد
نعم
وبقت علامته يبقى اللبس نظيف؟
نعم
أوه أوكي.
نعم إذا غسل
نعم غسل
نعم
وجعل
ولكن في أثر
أي
موجود، ما زال الأثر اللون
أي ما لا عليه لا بأس.
لا بأس.
أوكي.
نعم. So it's not قياس. Okay, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Because one's pure, one's not.
Yes.
Okay.
With qiyas, the illah has to be the same. The illah of the ruling, the reasoning of the ruling has to be the same to make qiyas. You see? That's why, for example, you can make qiyas on all types of drugs and alcohol. Why? Because the illah is the same.
ذهاب العقل.
Yeah. So when the illah is the same, you can make qiyas. When the illah is not the same, then la.
Do they disagree whether the illah is the same? Is that why there's?
No, here you have some who say it's they do qiyas to say because it came from the say either what because it came out of the private part. Now, so those who say it's qiyas, they say whatever comes out of the private part.
أستاذ سوري.
No.
هذا قياس يعني أكرمك الله يعني حتى لو الطفل أكرمك الله يعني والله ما أعرف شلون أشرحها ملابسه الداخلية فيها علامة من نمبر 2 أيضا لبسه طاهر يعتبر طاهر
إذا غسل
غسل بس فيه علامة بنية وشي.
لا بأس العلامة لا شيء. إذا غسل العلامة لا شيء.
لا شيء.
لا شيء. For example, you have a child, they don't wipe their backside, they leave their pants for you when they go into bed and you see that they don't clean themselves, you put it in the washing machine, it gets washed, you find it's still, the trace is there, the colour. Now, obviously you're going to dash that away, but that's our customs. Here we wouldn't keep those kind of garments, we would throw it away.
Yes.
However, is it dirty? No, it's pure now because it's been washed. However, that's just a trace of the color that is remaining. As for the thing itself, it's being cleaned. You see, that's the same with the blood. So it's pure.
إذا لم يوجد الماء
كيف تغسل إذا لم
شو
يوجد الماء؟
نسوي؟ نحطه في الرمل؟
لا
ولا حل؟
يمكن.
ولا حل.
باللباس لابد إزالة النجاسة. نعم. But if you cannot clean it with water, then فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم. You have to get juice. You have to do something. You see? But if there's no water, you have to do something. No.
So, if you can't clean what?
Like najasa.
You cannot answer it. I was going to ask about people that are doing tayammum.
Oh, okay.
So they don't have access to water.
Yeah.
Can you clean it doing that way with soil?
From your actual self with stone or tissue
Or leaf or something?
or leaf, yeah.
So التيشو يغني عن الماء؟
يعني في استنجاء واستجمار. You have both options.
لا لان الحين احنا اكرمك الله المحلات العامه الاسواق الواحد يحير يمسك نفسه ما يروح الحمام لانه ما يقدر يغتسل يضطر انه
Use
يمسك
water.
التيشو
Use tissue now.
يصير عقب
يصير،
يتوضا
نعم.
وخلاص.
نعم.
الحمد لله.
الدين يسر. The religion is easy. Also, what's mentioned, the washing is not wajib. It's mustahab. It's recommended.
washing what؟
The semen.
سيمن شنو يعني؟
المني.
اوكي
It's,
مستحب.
it's not wajib, it's mustahab. As for when it comes to the izalat najasa, this is wajib. But here it's min bab al-istihbab.
because طاهر.
It's recommended. لأن لم يرد بأمر بالغسل. It doesn't come that is a command to wash it. It shows the person did do it, but it doesn't say he commanded to do it.
So is it makruh if you don't?
لا.
ايش قد الله كرم الانسان.
Wait, so the actual money is pure, but you're in a state of janaba.
نعم. Because this is about that is hadeeth al-akbar. That's a major impurity of yourself, but not what comes out of you. Of the things that they mention, those who say that is pure, because they say the semen is similar to mucus. It's similar to mucus.
ميوكس شنو؟
المخاط
اوكي.
والبصاق. It says يعني ويكفيك أن تمسحه بخرقة. It's sufficient that you wipe it with a cloth. It's sufficient that you wipe it with a cloth. No. So that's of the things that are mentioned. Also of the things mentioned, هذا يدل على استحباب نظافة للصلاة وأخذ الزينة. It shows the recommendation of beautifying myself for the salah and being in a state of cleanliness. No. Also, it shows the wife serving the husband in aiding them in their affairs as was the action of Aisha anha. Also, the recommendation of cleaning things that are kind of despised in the sight of people, even though they're not najis. يعني استحباب التنظف من الأقذار ولو لم تكن نجسة. So like a person wouldn't be happy to see semen on you. Like if you come to the salah, people will be disgusted by this. So it shows it's recommended to clean things that also disgust people, even if they are pure. Also, as I mentioned before, أن النساء النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the wives of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, أعلم بأحواله الخاصة. They are most knowledgeable of things that are specific to him in his more intimate and private affairs. Also, it mentions التسريح بما يستحيا من ذكره للحاجة. Being clear, it mentions things that are people shy to say when there's a need. So as I mentioned, لا ما في حياء في العلم. There's no shyness in knowledge. You know, a person affected of a particular situation, they can't say, oh, I'm shy from my teacher to ask this question. La, there's no shyness. The issue is our character today. Lack of trust, immaturity, and the likes. This is what causes problems. But you'd have to ask a person of knowledge to find out. Now, so there's la ba's fi dhalik. And as I mentioned, is what it mentions here, جواز الصلاة في الثوب الذي ينام فيه الإنسان وتصيبه الجنابة فيه. The permissibility of praying in a thobe that a person sleeps in, and because of having a wet dream, they become in a state of janaba, it's affected, as long as they wash it. Well, it's not even obligatory to wash it, but it's permissible to pray in that garment. Now, also it mentions زهده النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في الدنيا حيث لم تكن له أثواب للأحوال المختلفة. Shows his abstinence from the world life. They didn't have abundant garments, like different garments for different circumstances. Now, it shows he didn't have a lot of clothes. Now, so with that, inshallah, I will stop and we'll continue next week with the next hadith بإذن ta'ala. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.